Parliament, Kamukunji. Also, we have Hilary Sigay, who is the senator for Bomet. We have senator for Tana River. This is Danson Mungatana. We were eagerly waiting to be joined by Okongo Omogeni after causing a storm last week in the Senate regarding the Parliamentary Service Committee appointments, and of course how there's sort of an injustice within ODM when it comes to doling out to some of his positions, as it were. It seems he's chickened out this morning, I should say. I don't know why. He should be here to defend that particular position as he had promised, but he's at all show today. So we just want to listen in also to some of the defenses that came through from Oburu Odinga, who has been accused of, getting all these slots, 4 of them. So people are reading, is it nepotism that is happening within ODM, that this is a family affair? Listen in.
I don't know why, if I just express my interest in a parliamentary, service commission seat, people feel jittery and they feel that I should not get it because I'm Raila's brother. People should also be taken there because I think loyalty should also count. If there are people who are already so jittery that they are praising the opposite side, we have very bitter experience in that Parliamentary Service Commission where we took Aisha Juma there. And
well, that was the senator for Siaya, Oburu Odinga there, but that's really just set the tone for conversation here regarding this appointment so far within ODM. And he said that this is Okongo Omogeni on the floor of the House, that he's admiring what is happening within Kenya Kwanza in terms of doling out these positions, but it seems on the other side, they're given a short end of a stick. Let's just hear from Mheshimiwa Yusuf in this regard. We see now this is intra-party democracy.
Well, before that, I just wanted to make a quick point.
Yes.
On the issue of the economy.
The issue of the economy.
And
okay.
I feel that our 2 colleagues are in a conundrum. That the reality is that unga na bei ya mafuta pamoja na mfumuko wa bei za bidhaa is an albatross on the neck of the current government. It's a hot potato issue. It cannot just be wished away. Everybody agrees that, in fact, the reality is that the economy cannot be turned around within 100 days, maybe even with 1 or 2 or 3 years. It requires time and energy to fix an economy. But because these promises were made in the heat of the elections, and these were some of the factors why a significant number of voters decided to vote for them, the pressure is now on them to deliver. So they cannot run away from it. But they must admit that there is no magic bullet. There is no way either the president or the ruling party can change our economic realities just like that at this particular moment, regardless of what you say about subsidies.
Yes.
I agree subsidies may not be the long-term solution to our problems, but bei ya unga na mafuta is a problem even for them at their constituency. This must be, if you're really an active member of parliament, when you go to your constituency, it hits you immediately. It's right up there on your face. People are asking, what are you going to do about it? So I think I left that there. On the issue of the selection,
yes,
this is actually becoming quite a messy issue and a problematic issue where members of parliament on all sides of the political divide are talking about. Because the issue of selecting the chairpersons, the vice chairpersons, selection of committees, should be the prerogative of parliament.
Yes.
Parliament is separate from the executive. But I have seen a tendency in the 11th parliament, in the 12th parliament, and this parliament, for the executive and the ruling political parties, to micromanage it to the point that, in fact, the member of parliament is just a pawn in the process. That they're moved from one place. Some of them do not know even at this moment in what committee they're going to be placed in. And then traditionally, in the standing orders, it is the parliamentarians who should elect their committee chairpersons. And it should not be imposed from there. It is there in the standing orders how a chairperson should be selected. what are the processes. It's all outlined in the standing orders. So I think this is unfortunate that there isn't a direct consultation, an open, transparent consultation between the elected members of parliament and their political parties, which has left this unfortunate better test in the air. And I think one day parliamentarians should assert their position and elect their own chairpersons and vice chairpersons, of course, with the advice and the guidance of the political leaders. But at the moment, it is completely an opaque system where you don't know who is deciding what where.
There's a very interesting editorial cartoon that I want to also to flip over there in the standard there, drawn by Gado, as we have Azimio grappling with these issues of appointments and doling out positions. We have, as is,
but it's not Azimio alone.
It's been depicted
all the
here.
Political parties.
All the political parties. But look at standard. If you may flip there, Mheshimiwa. It says, "Good people, there is no need to fight. My tent is big enough." That's page 16 of the standard, to accommodate all of us. And you can see the posy of goons there. We can see some of the clergy, people from every stripe of life are here.
Well,
it seems the Kenya Kwanza government is very accommodative. All right? And this is what Arab Singh has been depicted here, saying, "Good, there is no need to fight. My tent is big enough to accommodate all of us." While in the tent of Azimio, this is not really the same.
That is not true. I think they have also been whipped to toe the line. I know.
We've not seen this whipping.
There are members of parliament that I know that are competing for chair positions in the ruling party who would probably not get it. And they have been persuaded to lower their voices or accept the situation in the interest of party unity. So I think we should not be finger pointing to one political party. This is a problem across the parliamentary system, and it affects all the political parties because there are not enough chairpersons or vice chairpersons to dish out.
Right. So does it, as a son,
there are more members of parliament with an ambition of leadership positions to take leadership positions in the House, who would not get simply because the numbers are not there.
Okay.
Not everyone can be a chairperson,
right,
and not every person can be a vice chairperson. So the question is, what criteria is the party leadership using to dish out those positions? Is it experience? Is it seniority? Is it regional balance? Yeah. So these are the factors that should be brought out into the open so that members of parliament can accept the reality and support whoever is selected by their political party.
Right. So, Hilary, before you come, I wanted to ask that question. That do you think also Parliament is the best place to actually, air these grievances on the floor of the House? When we had Okongo Mogini doing that, or what will be the likely mechanism that should be used when you want to express your frustration? Yes. And as it stands, does he also put himself on a position where it will be at the behest of the party now to de-whip him? Would you call that untoward indiscipline from him, so to speak, that what will be meted out on him is maybe being de-whipped?
Thank you, Dubal. Honorable Yusuf is right to some extent when he actually speaks on what is these criteria that we need to use in order to make sure that we have everyone happy in terms of appointment. There are less committee positions as compared to the members, both at the Senate and at the National Assembly. The issue and the only way that we can attempt, because we can never satisfy everyone and every demand, but then the only way we can do this is through the political party caucuses. If we caucus, for example, in the boardroom, prior to coming to the floor of the House, that caucus in itself facilitates sharing of these positions. And that's what exactly Kenya Kwanza has done. It is provided for in law, And it is one of the conversations that we had, I remember, when we were in the induction, where we were saying, how do we strengthen political democracy of political parties, both in the House, as to whether we are speaking to different issues, different manifestos, and different parameters of concern in terms of leadership. If we have parliamentary caucus and we strengthen those caucuses, it will enable us to go sit down as Kenya Kwanza, share these positions. If we've got 18 committees, for example, we have got 24 senators from Kenya Kwanza. Not all of us can be chairpersons or vice chairpersons. Not all of us can go into all the committees. The committee that I would be interested in to join is not necessarily the committee that I'll get. How do I then become comfortable? By being involved in the party caucus, where we share and justify why we are putting Honorable Mungatana in this particular committee, and also Sige in this committee, Yusuf in this committee. But then again, what Yusuf said, this is a political party. There are certain directions or directives that would also come from the leadership of the party in terms of these positions. And it's quite unfortunate that sometimes whenever such directives also come, we are unable to agree at all the times. They talk about loyalty to the political party that sponsored you to the position that you are holding as an elected leader.
But it seems loyalty doesn't really count here.
It does to some extent.
How loyal you are.
It does to some extent. The only unfortunate thing that it has is sometimes we also are left at the mercy of the leadership of the party. Indeed. Which is not good, especially when you want to be a very independent and objective elected leader, so that you speak to issues.
And you raise a good point.
Yes.
Yeah, because we are seeing this issue of party ownership.
Yes.
That now really comes to play when we're doling out this particular position. It is not really about, those structures that you talk about.
Yes.
It's not really about the positions or maybe within the party, the structure they've created.
Yes.
We have the inter-party democracy itself and the tenets of democracy within the particular party. It is
yes.
because of my party, as me, as Odinga, me as, Honorable William Ruto, with the UDA, I determine the direction of a party. It's not solely members of a party.
And that's true.
But the occultism of
yes.
the party.
Yes.
Not really occultism, but the cultism of the personality
yes.
within the party.
And that's true. I was with Honorable Yusuf in Jubilee 1 and 2. And we didn't organize, or rather, the constitution provided for certain structures and organs of the party. None of those organs were never set up. That is one of the reasons why we didn't survive the 10-year term. And when that time came in, certain structures which ought to be managing some of these small issues, once they are not set up, nothing can happen. And the people who stood by the party are the people, at the end of the day, who, as a politician and as a political player, you must also at least have them benefit out of the sacrifices they've made. A good number of people, for instance, in the Kenya Kwanza team, were de-whipped in the 12th Parliament, at the Senate and the National Assembly, for standing with the interest of the Kenya Kwanza, then the Deputy President and his team, as against the position that the presidency was taking, and as at that time the party, which was not the case because some management committee was set up that is not provided for in the constitution. It is the unfortunate situation to our political parties in Kenya, which we are saying as Kenya Kwanza. When you look at the constitution of Kenya Kwanza now, in comparison with a good number of other political parties here, it is not about the person. It is about the party as an institution. If and when we institutionalize it and run the organs which have been set up, we will run away from this bit of it is what a certain individual speaks about, and that is the law. Because we will defend the party at an objective, structured level.
So, Dibal, I'm going to the comment regarding the Honorable Senator for Siaya, Dr. Oburu Odinga. I wanted to say that, first of all, that Oburu Odinga has a very illustrious political career. And we should give him the highest respect possible, because amongst the members of Parliament, he's one of the oldest, if not the oldest, I think.
He actually turned 79 years yesterday.
Not the age, I'm talking about in terms of service to Parliament.
Yeah, but it spills over to the timelines.
And if you look at, even if you add the parliamentary term he's had with the East African Legislative Assembly, he's probably the oldest. And you know, previously to that, he served as a councillor in the old system. You know, people look at Raila more, so he disappears there. But the fact of the matter is, even in those days when you were there, he was an assistant minister in economics planning. So when we are talking about Oburu, the person, he is a person of many years, and the senator, you know, we should give him his due respect. But on this one, I don't agree with him. I really don't. And the reason is the whole setup, or let me say mis-setup, of the way they handle their political issues. The issues that Mheshimiwa Omogeni was raising on the floor of the Senate were genuine issues. And I think if I was their political party, I would want to withdraw and listen. What is the problem? Because they know what the problem is. And I listened very, very carefully to what my classmate and friend and fellow senator Omogeni was raising. And it is not a defense to say the party has decided. It is not a defense to say that I applied like every other person. How do you explain the fact that some people have 5 slots and others don't have a single one? I think it speaks to the whole misstructure on the other side. We, on the other side, as Kenya Kwanza, when we had our retreat, first of all, the president, who is our party leader, did not wait. He called us. And when he called us, he told us, I know people have interests, but this is the rule. If you choose to be a committee chairman, you cannot be again in maybe speaker's panel. You cannot be in this, you cannot ask for 2 positions at the same time. Please, we are so many of us. And then he also said, we may not be able to satisfy everybody else, but we are going to try. So even you, as a member of that political formation in Kenya Kwanza, you start feeling, okay, there's some sensitivity towards what we want to do. And I was hoping that the same would have happened on the other side. You know, then he said that we have done negotiations on the speaker's position and the top party leadership in Parliament and in Senate. This is what we have, and so this is we think this is the speaker. What do you people think? You know, in a closed meeting, and so people raise their voices. What, and then the thing is agreed. Then he said, I know, after this, there are many people who have interest in other positions. So I'm asking the deputy president to set up a group that they can discuss and come up with possible positions for the committees in the Senate and in the House. And I'll say what I know. I was interested in a certain position, and I called the deputy president, and I asked him, no, so I'm interested in this and that. And then he told me, Mheshimiwa Mngatana, with due respect, mimi sitaki kudanganya viongozi kama vile wengine walitudanganya na tukakosana. So I will tell you the truth. This is not available. This one is available. This one is available. Tell me, where do you think you would fit in? And I made my proposal, and I was grateful. I didn't get exactly what I wanted, but I was grateful that the person who was given the responsibility to look into all these matters together with the team, they were able to actually look at it. And I know my Speaker of the Senate, Speaker King, he also called me and told me, okay, you had requested for this and this and this. We're going to work on this one, this way. My whip, the majority whip, Mheshimiwa Senator Halwale, called me and told me, look, there's this and this and this. We are thinking, so will it be okay to work it this way? Because there are this and these other competing interests. And I'm so grateful. Do you know,
at least you were consulted.
Yeah, I was consulted, and we talked, and your ideas are listened to, from the top to the second command, to the speaker, to my whip. It is the way it should work out. So I was very saddened to hear that on the other side, members are being denied opportunities. And, you know, when you single out people like Senator Ojienda, We were elected together many years ago in the Law Society Council. He was elected for the other side, and I was from the Coast Representative. We served, and I have known him, and he went on to get all the way to a professorship. He's a jurist. He's a person who can respect his opinion. He's appeared before the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal many times. He's made his name. He's a senior counsel. How do you fail to put that person in the Justice and Legal Committee, the JLAC? I mean, if he was there, even on our side, although we have our own person we want to put for chairman, if Ojienda was in that committee, we'd probably be feeling, no.
That's the place.
Look,
yeah, it snugly fits that position.
We probably want to elect him as chair. But look at the injustice. You remove such a person and put some other guys who have repeated positions in other committees. So I think we would encourage the other side, like I said in the House when I got a chance to make comments on this issue, that we would encourage them to be fair. Just be fair. You don't have to be perfect. Like us, we were not perfect. And I'm sure there are many people in Parliament, in the National Assembly and in the Senate who have, complaints. But we are saying we tried. We had a plan and we tried to apply it. And I thank God we have a leadership like the President and the Deputy who are at least open to tell you what they are thinking and what we are doing. Now, on this issue, I think I would encourage them to try and discuss more outside, because a knife, it is very sharp. If it is sharpened outside, it becomes very effective when it's time for cutting. But if outside there it's not cut, when you come to try and cut the meat, then our fathers used to say that it will not work. And the rule in the House, Standing Order number 199, it states clearly, when a nomination of a list is brought before the House, you will have to accept it in whole or reject it in whole. You cannot cherry pick. You cannot say, oh, this one has repeated committee places, so we want to reject him. No. Those rules are the rules we passed, and they are the rules and traditions of Parliament. So if they bring a guy for the Committee of Energy, for the Committee of Delegated Legislation, for the Committee of Justice, for the Committee of the same person in 10 committees, and it is a list, for us, when it is moved, we have to pass it because the rule says so. And then we cannot also keep on adjusting, waiting for them. Because I remember the first time, let me just finish this point. The first time they came and they said, look, we have a problem. Let us not constitute the Senate committees today. We have to consult. So let's come tomorrow or whatever. So our leadership, led by our very able majority leader, Senator Aaron Cheriot, we considered, we told the Speaker, just give us time to allow the other side to consult. So when they came back again and they had they presented a list on our side, we were convinced that they had done the discussions and the agreements have been reached. So it was very unfortunate to know that actually there was no discussion or the discussions were inadequate, and then there was really literally bulldozing. And we see we cannot keep waiting. So Mugeni wanted us to wait again. And we are telling him, no, we have Senate business to conduct. And the committees must be in place for Senate to conduct its business. So we said, no, we have to pass the list the way they are. But we just say, with a lot of apology, that there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of managing these things on the other side.
So have they really passed the Rubicon, as it were? I don't know what is happening for the National Assembly. Everything seems to be hoky-dory as far as the National Assembly is concerned. It's only the Senate with their committees. I don't know if you have also some of the scruples that you can raise from the National Assembly.
In fact, in the National Assembly, some of the committees have already been established to allow the functions
to move on.
The House Business Committee, the Appointments Committee, the Selection Committee, but we are going to deal with the other committees during this week and when we come back from the break next week.
So as it is, as it stands, it looks like from the Senate, this has passed the Rubicon.
Yes.
There's nothing much we can do, no matter how much belly aching that is coming from the floor of the House with the Congo Mogeni and the rest who are feeling that at least they've been shortchanged. Nothing can be done.
No, not outside.
So when it comes to such a fashion of disaffection that is coming from, a member of a party, and he's using the floor of the House. Is the standing order accommodative of that?
Yes.
It is accommodative of
yes,
that.
yes.
Then again, does it look like you are lashing, your party in public? And that will now put you in a disciplinary, sort of committee? Or where does it really stand?
I think with common sense, I would say the honourable senator should have raised this issue within the structures of his party and with his leader.
Because it seems
and I think
no one is listening within the structures
once you put it out there, then it is very difficult to deal with it within the party. And there are several members who have done that, either through press, media releases. There was Babu Owino at one point, and others, and Senator Ladema, who had raised issues on the process of selection. It's their democratic right, but there are channels and there are ways of dealing with these issues within the party structures, and I think it would have been the best way to address those issues within the caucuses of the party. And many of these parliamentarians have access to the leadership, and they can directly raise those issues with the leadership rather than
I hold a different opinion.
Washing their dirt in the open.
Let them finish.
Yeah.
I hold a different opinion because what my colleague Mheshimiwa is talking about is the ideal situation. But he agrees with Senator Sigei here that the party they used to belong to, Jubilee, did not actualize the organs of the party that could be used to sort these things out. So by the time someone is so frustrated that he has to use the floor of the House or to make media releases, it means there is some
He's exhausted all the channels within the party.
Not even exhausted. Those channels are just not working. They have not been set up, or you can't reach, or you're just feeling there's no way your voice will be heard. So what I think they did, if it's Babu Owino, if it is Ledama, if it is Mheshimiwa, I think what they have done is to increase the space in the intra-party democracy. Because what it would mean, therefore, in future or going ahead, the political parties that have parliamentary majority will be wary of a bad betrayal of their internal politics by members who are dissatisfied. So maybe going future, they would maybe try to listen or accommodate more. So I think what they did was a good thing. It may not have been, sometimes to heal a wound, you may need to scrap off some stuff and put spirit, which a bit is in a washer. But at the end, it starts healing, because even us, maybe we would have been in the same situation. It's only maybe that God helped us. But we are saying for future political parliamentary parties, then they have expanded the space. They have sent a warning that we need to all be accommodated. So I see it differently. It wasn't necessarily neat, but it's what else could they have done? And it is good for the future.
And just a slight comment on it. Remember, Debal, we had to adjourn the session in the previous sitting so that the Azimio La Umoja team retreats to a caucus. And when we adjourned, we of course expected that they were to agree. It turned out then the following day that they did not have agreed. Number two, in the course of the debate, when the majority leader was tabling the list in the floor of the House, midway the process, I'm sure you definitely must have watched, there was an interjection from among the members of the Azimio team that the list that was being read out, in particular, I think to a certain committee, must have had the person whose name was inserted after the tabling of that list before the clerk was done. And now we had to also retrieve a different list that had the amendment. So what Senior Counsel Omogeni did in the circumstances was one of those things that you would do also as an objective leader, as someone who would stand for your right, because if all of us keep quiet and chicken out, if none speaks about the infringement of that which is ours, we'll all die at the end of the day. So at least we must have someone who can speak out. And what he did was the right thing in the circumstances. It could be true that it probably could not have been neat, but then how worst could it have been when in the floor of the house, someone is saying, no, you're reading a different list. And yet, according to you, maybe this is what you had agreed in the caucus. It wasn't neat, but that was the right thing to do. And for purposes of posterity, political parties were to be honest to themselves in terms of setting them up towards maturity.
Yes.
The caucuses were set up, and people were to sit down, because at the end of the day, as Yusuf had said earlier on, we can't satisfy everybody. The committee membership and chairpersons slots are not available for everyone. If there were to be a conversation the way Senator Mugatana said we did in our party, it would have been very easy. We didn't get that which we wanted, but we were content with the positions that we got at the end of the day, merely because there was some involvement. We were involved. We discussed at a very personal level and at a caucus level as a whole party team, where the party leader is saying, look, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we have, let's do it. And so it is something that I would say I would also do the same if my party does not do the right thing. Because if I don't do it, who else will do it? If I don't speak about this injustice, who else will say it? Nobody. And it's the only way we can also align the political party to formalize the engagements and also make it objective. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's turn the crack now a bit, and we discuss about also today's very important appointment of the CS's nominees with members of Parliament, a committee on appointments that will be happening from exactly 9 o'clock at the National Assembly. And some of the faces that we do know also will be put to task to answer questions going by what we have in the Standard today on the vetting. This man who called Obama Junior Senator become top diplomat, and that is Dr. Alfred Mutua there. You know, some of the things that we've said in the past and done in the past will come to bear right now. That is where we can see on the front page of a Standard threat also to expose terror, finances. Hans Dwale is another story that you want to follow there. This is in the Standard, and I want us just to move on with that and just comment on some of this list that we have today. We have Masela Mudavadi appearing today. We have Justin Buturi. We have Eden Dwale, and we do have also Dr. Alfred Mutua, amongst others. Alice Wahome as well. Some of these issues have been brought to the fore regarding their past, and people are questioning some of the CSs also who have cases in court. I think we have a very heated debate with you, last week, but one as well. Moshibo, let's hear from you.
Well, I must say that it is important that Parliament has this oversight role through the Appointments Committee, which became possible as a result of the 2010 Constitution. But I see a problem with the committee itself, given the fact that it is it consists of the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, the Majority Leader, the Deputy Majority Leader, and maybe about 8 members of the ruling party, which makes about 12 members in total, against about 8 members of the opposition. More importantly, the chairperson of the committee is none other than the Speaker. So it is already tilted towards the government, and it is rigged in some ways, in the sense that there isn't a possibility that any nominee would be rejected, particularly by the party that has the president.
So how did we, maybe we need to broach the issue on how we had this committee being tilted on one side.
Exactly, and I have served on this. I have served on this committee in the last Parliament.
Yes.
So it is very difficult, whatever the consequences or whatever the accusations against a particular nominee, it is very difficult for that nominee to be rejected by that particular committee, because they will not be able to embarrass their president the party leader and patron, even when that particular nominee has serious issues, for example, doesn't have the right credentials, or has integrity problems that are wanting. Yes. And I'll give you an example. In the last parliament, we had such a nominee. We had Rashidi Chesa.
Yes.
Rashidi Chesa had was a class 6 dropout.
Yes.
He had no training or professional experience to speak of. Yet we were able to approve him because the constitution and the laws that govern the committee is guided by the appointments approval committee, which is also known as the Parliamentary Approval Committee of Act, which is a 2011 Act, which was amended in 2021. Unfortunately, that this particular Act does not set a level of education for the Cabinet Secretary. It is one of the most ironic and surprising things that here we have a Cabinet Secretary whom we are going to give a whole ministry with a massive budget and a lot of authority, and yet there is no any requirement about the experience and the education of that particular person. And this omission is very serious. The second element is that the committee is empowered to look at the credentials, the experience, the integrity and the background of the person. But now, for integrity, the committee depends on the ethics and the anti-corruption and the Directorate of Investigations to provide them with the documentation and information that could be used to block or dismiss or stop someone with integrity issues. But these two organizations have, in my experience, not provided such support to the committee and to Parliament, which makes it impossible for members of Parliament within a period of a week to determine about the integrity of that particular person. And thirdly, I would say that there is this group thing among the MPs. Members of Parliament have their own, they have to grapple with their own integrity issues. Some of them have court cases, some of them have been sentenced, and many others feel that in fact some of these court cases are used to criminalize, to carry out a smear campaign and stigmatize members of Parliament. And others may even think that some of these cases are politically motivated and vindictive. And therefore, in generally, they will give the politician or the candidate the benefit of the doubt because they feel that this person has not been found guilty beyond doubt, and that at this particular moment when they're vetting them, they would let them go because there isn't really serious scrutiny or critical evaluation of that particular candidate. And so I think we should not expect any surprises. Of course they would interrogate them. Of course the MPs would ventilate. And this is a show that we're going to watch in the next few days. But don't expect any surprises. Nothing surprising is going to happen. Many of them, if not all of them, would be approved, recommended, and be sworn in as cabinet secretaries in the next week or two.
It's very interesting that you raised that, Mheshimiwa, because I think when we get given these ministries, this is, we expect, you know, the creme de la creme in the society to actually be partaking this. So if we have such a low bar that has been put there, that anyone can actually just take up these positions. We've seen before the ilks of you talk of Echesa, you know, taking some of his dockets and you know, dragging the docket itself through the mud and some of the scandals, as it were. How did we? What was the rhyme and reason on not really having any requisites, at least qualification for such a position? Was there any reason for this?
Thank you, Debal. Maybe before I answer that, because I intended to answer to the question, and it's right when Honorable Yusuf speaks into the non-requirement of any qualification. One of it is, of course, a cabinet secretary, however much he or she is to be in charge of billions of shillings and serious dockets within the government, is a political position.
But
it's a political position.
You say that it's very apolitical, that the CS should be a technocrat.
So no, I'm getting there. I'm actually getting there. Allow me to prosecute it.
Sure.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Because when you look at a cabinet secretary, a good number of them are politicians, seasoned and those who've been involved in the political limelight. We all know them. The names which have been shown, which were sent out to Parliament for purposes of the vetting that will start today, are seasoned politicians who've been in the political class or climate across the country for some time now. Coming down slightly from the CS is now the technical people who are supposed to be technocrats, who are actually the people who would run almost the day-to-day affairs of the entity. They are the advisors to this cabinet secretary. I am not saying, therefore, that we are not supposed to have people of certain level of academic qualification to be in those positions. I am one of those proponents of we need to have it in law so that the people whom we are sending into these positions are the people who are capable of, dealing with the issues that are required of a cabinet secretary at that policy level, not at the technical level like the position of the PSS and the advisors. And so when this law was enacted, I'm very sure at that time, definitely the considerations were different from the conversation we are having right now. It would have been one of those very good things that we had the opposition, because it's supposed to be checking the government of the day. Unfortunately, we've had how many terms, how many parliaments, Honorable Yusuf? That was in 2013-20, so we've had 2 parliaments. And they have, of course, aware that this law is in place, have ignored completely to deal with it. And it is, of course, very unfortunate in the sense that however much we have an opposition that is supposed to check the government and ensure that these things are in place, they are also playing politics, because if I want to be in government, I want to make sure that the people whom I'm putting into positions of leadership in the cabinet position are also my political supporters, the people who worked and invested in the campaigns that I did, in the ideas that we had, in the manifesto that we are planning to do. And it's the unfortunate thing. However, I know a caveat to it in terms of delivery to the people is where we have now the technical personnel from the rank of the principal secretary and the rest, where the law has kept certain qualifications for them. Nonetheless, in this vetting that is going on, one, because I have seen a number of these nominees are my clients, and I have seen the checklist that has been sent out by the Parliament for them to avail are documentations which are their academic papers, the documents from Director of Criminal Investigation. We also have got clearances from the EACC, that is the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. If they have been given these clearances, it is one of those shows that you have gone to the DCI, and DCI have counter-checked on your criminal record, and you haven't been found guilty for a period that the law would say if you are sentenced or if you are subjected to a prosecution over either an anti-corruption, an economic crime, or any criminal, and a court of law has made a finding on your criminality, you will not be passed to hold a public office. The only unfortunate thing is what Honorable Yusuf is saying, that some of them, for instance, would argue, and it is because of the criminalization of the system, that a number of charges which were put forward against some of these nominees were politically instigated. Me, I'm a practitioner. I have a good number of those cases, and I think it's something that I'll speak to you. I'll allow us the option of the DPP for the last few days to drop some charges against some people. It is that which we are saying from the legal end, that if I can sustain a prosecution, it has a basis. These nominees, I know 2 of them have had this conversation going on in the media. They will not be appearing today, but it is a conversation that will happen in that committee. As to the constitution of the committee members, it is given. I mean, the majority that from the government will definitely have the majority to sit in such committees because it is their manifesto that will be implemented for the 5-year term. The only request which we have made to all our committee members as a party is that we desire of them objectivity.
Thank you.
If we are taking them through this interpretation, let us be objective, let us avoid personalizing these issues.
Thank you.
And ensure that we bring on board people with competence to deal with the manifesto that we have.
Right. Let's hear from Gatana, then we also be preparing we prepare our headline thoughts as well.
I wanted to answer your question directly. Why is it that at the cabinet level there's no requirement for a degree?
Indeed.
Now, I was present in Parliament that night. It was a very late night. The Honorable Minister Musalia Mudavadi, who was then in charge of the local government, he came with a raft of bills that we had to pass because Parliament was about to break. Yeah? And we had to pass those bills because time was not also on our side. And when it came to the bills that would affect how the county governments were going to operate, a lot of members of Parliament had interest because some of them had decided they were going to be they were going to run as governors.
Including himself.
Yeah, I also went to run for governor. So I remember on that particular day, they put, when it came to those whatever, they put the requirement for degree for governor and the deputy governor. Yeah, I remember for me, I moved the whatever for county, the amendment to include a county judge, so that every county should have a county judge. I remember that one was mine. But I also remember that when it came to the national cabinet secretary positions, Mudavadi did not say anything about the requirement. And nobody was keen because those were national government things. People were very focused on the cabinet secretaries, the governors, and so on of the county. And I was focused on the county judges and the leadership there. So you would see that it was a late night thing. And why Mudavadi did not talk about the issue of degree for the cabinet secretary, we do not know. But maybe at that point there was no requirement, because even his initial proposal, legislative proposal, did not have a requirement for the governor to have a degree, did not have a requirement for the cabinet secretary in the county, the county executive committee member to have a degree. So those were members of parliament who brought in amendments to those acts. But he didn't move. So it wasn't like something that was supposed to be only for counties and not the national. The initial legislative proposal that was brought by the cabinet minister at that time, they were not to have any of these requirements. So let me answer you that one. But then going to the other one, this nomination, the nominees thing.
Will you contract it because of time? I'm being hounded out of the studio. Yes.
Yes. Let me just say one
briefly.
Quick one.
It's an ongoing story, of course. So we develop one.
Let me just say one quick one. The public office, the Public Appointments Parliamentary Vetting Act, we are the ones who started it. Myself and Mheshimiwa Muskari Kombo. Mheshimiwa Muskari Kombo at some point dropped off, so I'm the one who brought in as a private member's bill. So I'm the father of that law. And the thinking in Parliament at that time was that we wanted to avoid a situation where the president would appoint his friends, his cronies, his only people, without any consideration like it was before, without any vetting, that he would put a finance guy there, he would put a minister for justice there without whatever.
Thank you.
He would put ambassadors. You know, ambassadors are there, PSS are there, central bank governor is there, all those top public officers. We put in that law. Later on it was amended, and I want to tell you that since that amendment, every president who has come after that, they have not just brought in people who are their friends, personal cronies.
Thank you.
I'll tell you.
I need to wind up.
Let me just finish. I'll tell you one thing, that the people who have been put here, those nominees by the president, the current president, those are not just friends. Those are people who have earned their position into that nomination list.
Thank you.
And I can tell you...
That is for the vetting committee to determine.
I can tell you...
Debal. No, you're not holding brief for them.
People.
No.
And they will pass.
This is canvassing. This is canvassing. We need to wind up. You're not holding brief for them. Thank you very much, Danson Mungatana. So if they really earn their stripes, then we will see will they really pass muster through the committee session today. We shall be putting our tails on that, of course, here on KTN News and give you blow-by-blow information that really comes to hand. But I want to thank you, Mheshimiwa Yusuf Hassan. I want to give you time now to just give you final remarks because of time, but I really appreciate your input this morning as well. Hilary Segei, thank you for coming through, Mheshimiwa Senator of Bomet and also Senator of Tana River, Danson Mungatana. I really appreciate you coming through. Was an Osho from Okongo Mogani. Of course, maybe he's still licking his wounds. And of course, next time when he's here, we shall have a party for him, right? Just to console him as well. Thank you so much for your valid company. Don't go, much more coming up on the other side of a break. All Matters Sports. I needed to show you something. Karen, there's a very important picture there that we have on the week. Right, it's off. But we have, I don't know if you're a fan of Manchester?
No, I'm not.
A fan of Liverpool?
I'm not in football.
I'm a Manchester fan.
Manchester fan?
Yes.
Right.
I'm not a supporter of any of this new colonial, cultural imperialist concept.
I won't even go there.
But
let me just wind up the show.
Aside from that, Debal, there's a new sheriff in town. There's a new sheriff in town.
There's a new sheriff in town?
Yes, we should talk about that.
Who's the new sheriff in town?
The new sheriff in town is the new DCI boss.
The DCI, yeah? Yes, we're talking